We're out here at Monument Valley, or Cane Valley is actually called, and we're at the Monument Valley UMTRA site. And here the cleanup was done approximately 1987 to 1988. And in this area we had a large tailings pile, and the tailing piles was all moved to Mexican Hat, and they were consolidated with that tailings pile in Mexican Hat. And what happened was all the tailings was transported from here to Mexican Hat in semi-trucks. They had double trailers, and they were running about 20 trucks a day, and probably around 170 loads per day out of here. And all the mine waste or the tailings was moved to that site, and then after that, whatever was left, they had a arroyo up a little ways, and during the milling days they had the whole setup, and then after the milling, some of the families took the structures, the steel beams, and hauled it away to make their garages, whatever. And some of the material that was too old or that couldn't be used, they just buried it on site. And that was later on, the company that was doing the remediation, they tore it, cut it up in smaller pieces, and they also moved that to the Mexican Hat site, and it was part of the disposal. And right now, this morning, we came out to look at the what we call the Phytoremediation project, and what we have is a four-wing salt bush, and then the greasewood plants. The roots are going down to the depth of probably about 20 feet. And bringing up the uranium contamination that's in the groundwater, nitrates, selenium, that kind of contaminants. Groundwater contamination extended probably 1.5 miles. Through this process of sucking up the nitrates by these plants, the plume is pretty much back within about 1/4 mile. There is some wells that start showing some contamination, and that's being monitored by the Department of Energy. University of Arizona is out here monitoring this project. They have little plots and little sections, and they're testing each little plots with different type of mixtures. Some like, for an example, 50% groundwater, 50% water from a clean source, and each little plot has a different sequence. And they're just kind of experimenting to see which one is actually working. And right now, this pretty much covers probably about 3 acres, I'm just guessing. And this is pretty much what they're doing. At the same time, they're doing some overhead images with a satellite that these pictures, how the growth is growing. And randomly, they're collecting soil samples or plant samples, and they're being analyzed. And that determines how much contamination is actually being cleaned up. They're just using the greasewood. Then the other places they're just using the four-wing saltbush, and some places they're doing it separately, some they're together, and they're using different water mixture, and sometimes they add some type of fertilizer, and they're just kind of experimenting them in plot areas. And if you're looking around out there, some are doing really well with some certain mixture, and they're a lot bigger. Some of the earlier projects here, they're smaller test plots, and you can see some of the bigger bushes out there also. This would be your four-wing saltbush, and then this is your greasewood. These plants are able to get the root depth. It goes down to about 20 feet, and the water table right here is probably less than that, but it gets down to that water table. Then that's when it starts bringing up collecting the nitrate or whatever is in the solution, the water, and that brings up into these plants. Then with that method, all that contamination is being brought back to this area. And later on, when they feel like they're all done, then these plants will probably be picked up, pulled out, and then burned, and then whatever the ash results is probably going to be disposed of as a contaminated material. So they monitor that section and see how that mixture is working in some areas. In some areas, maybe it's doing poorly, and in those poorly areas they might add some type of nutrients, and then to help it grow and then continue to get the plants to be productive.
You can use some contaminated
Yeah.
water to irrigate.
Yeah, and it's kind of being a recycle type of format. So actually the water is not being injected back into the ground, it's being fed to these through these lines to the plants.